Hey everybody, it's PartyElite with another online battle today. It's been a bit of a Skaven week for me, so I hope you've been enjoying it, and I take them to the field again, this time against the Beastmen, led by Pickleson. We begin, as always, with talk of composition and deployment, and my opponent does do a couple of clever things with deployment, but more on that in a bit. Skaven first. Of course, Queek Headtaker is in charge on the left over here, and we have with him a Warlock Engineer on the right with just Warp Lightning for magic, but it's more about the Warpstone Armor and Musk of Fear, trying to damage enemy leadership, and of course the trickle damage from the Warpstone Armor within the radius around him, of course. Then the front line consists of this alternating line of Plague Monks and Plague Monk Sensor Bears. Here, because they're all immune to psychology in case anything scary comes charging at them, they have Frenzy, and they can do a lot of morale damage as well when they're armor piercing, or of course there's the anti-infantry Plague Monk units as well. Then right behind them we've got the Storm Vermin with Halberd on either end, able to charge forward and get involved if some Minotaurs decide to come crashing through, or if there's a Gorbel. And then we've got the Poison Wind Globadiers, anti-large and armor piercing, again against Minotaurs or Gorbel, whatever there might be. And then we've got the Warp Fire Thrower as well, there for that range support, magical damage, and more importantly, leadership damage. Then, all the way back here, once again for leadership damage and armor-piercing damage, the Plague Claw Catapult, able to get that going right from the start. And to the right here, the Doom Wheel, Fear and Terror. So you're probably seeing a pattern here. I'm trying to have a bit of a morale battle. And then finally, all the way to the left, we've got an assassin there with concealment bombs, hoping that the enemy will charge forward and get an engagement going on somewhere along the lines here, so I can send the assassin creeping in afterwards with concealment bombs and chase after whatever enemy leader is on the field. I was suspecting Morgar the Shadowgave, so I wanted as much damage output as possible at any given time while reducing melee attack and defense. But let's see what we have on the other side of the field. Of course, instead, it's Kazarak, the One-Eye in charge, tucked in the trees back here, and right next to him, none other than the Gorbel. Up front, we've got this Ungor Herd hidden because of the Stalk ability, and we've also got the Gore Herd with shields, using their shields to stay safe from any range support I might have. The two units of Bestigor Herd are armor-piercing and heavily armored, so they will do a decent bit of work, though that much armor is sometimes unnecessary, maybe not so important to rank these guys up so high. We also have the Razorgore Herd here, chasing after any of my units, hoping to shut down artillery or range support. And we also have the Senegor with great weapons, as well as the Senegor. And these guys, working together as a team, they will do a decent bit of work against my infantry and against my archers, or any of those sorts of units that I have tucked away in some of these trees, hoping to push in for flanking maneuvers, get some rear charges and side charges in. And of course, we do have, as you may have noticed, the Cygor back here, acting as a piece of artillery, able to get damage done right from the start. And we have also the Minotaurs with great weapons planted at his feet, able to provide protection against any of my large units that might creep in to try and shut down that artillery. Minotaurs with great weapons are anti-large and armor-piercing, so they can stay back here and provide support, or of course go chasing after any of my large units. Now, I think the reason why my opponent has deployed in pockets like this is to avoid the threat of vermintide. One single vermintide will not be able to take care of all of these units, so very clever deployment there, keeping these guys apart, able to support each other however necessary, wherever I might summon some clan rats. So well done, I have to say. But let's see how this all breaks down. Right away, of course, both sides of the field have artillery, so both sides of the field start firing away. The Cygor has a clean line of sight, opens shots, and my Plague Claw Catapult, just my luck, as luck would have it, decides to fire into some of these troops here, but we'll never know who it decides to hit, because all three of these initial shots do nothing but hit the tree, and hit the tree, and hit the tree. So extremely accurate there, very precise, just wrong target. The Doom Wheel, though, decides to creep forward and get involved. Right away, we spot the Ungor Herd over here, and I think it is the Doom Wheel that forces my opponent to move forward. I am very resolute in my game plan. I have stayed absolutely still. I am not falling for that Cygor firing away at me, but you'll see I change where my Plague Claw Catapult is firing, and as the Doom Wheel comes crashing through, you'll see the Plague Claw Catapult does a decent bit of hurt to the Gore Herd over here, and then in comes the Doom Wheel as well. Again, Fear and Terror, trying to get some damage done as quickly as possible, just plowing through these guys. Again, you can see the orders going through, trying to force that Doom Wheel out of there, and very successful, of course, looking for the next target, and the Plague Claw Catapult as well, just firing away, doing a great deal of damage before lines are able to meet. And you can see the Senegor over here tucking off to the side, so I do need to be prepared for that. I am ready with the Halberds off to the side over here, but just keeping an eye on those guys as they move ever so close to my assassin. And again, the Plague Claw Catapult just firing away, trying to get some damage done to this clump, as the Doom Wheel is trying to keep its distance from the Gorbel. He is anti-large and armor-piercing, so a little scary there. And you'll see as this clump is charging towards my army now, I do use the Warp Lightning. There's a perfect opportunity there. I'm a little concerned that they'll all sort of split apart and dodge it, but Thankfully, that is not the case, and you can see in comes the lightning storm, and it does a decent bit of damage. Not too much, but makes me happy. It's a little use of magic that does a little bit of damage. And off to the side here, you'll see the Minotaurs with their great weapons tuck forward, hoping to get a flanking maneuver in as charges come in. And over here, the assassin was spotted, so I used the concealment bomb and creeping him around back so he's not able to get shut down. He's able to charge in when the opportunity presents itself. And now you'll see the Doom Wheel does get caught by the Gorbel, but the Plague Claw Catapult is trying to provide an opening for him as the Doom Wheel as well, firing away, taking a lot of damage. And it's time for me to now charge in because it's clear that these guys are not going to close the gap any further. So in comes another Warp Lightning. You'll see, hoping to bait these guys into the clump and do a decent bit of damage, and that one does a lot of hurt to the Bestigor as well as the Ungor herd here, reducing their will to fight. In comes Terror and the Plague Claw Catapult as well, just reducing morale. The Minotaurs with great weapons as well, as you can see, they dove in for a rear charge into some of these Plague Monk Sensor Bearers, doing a decent bit of damage there, but the Storm Vermin with halberds that were right behind them came charging in, and now the Minotaurs are in a very tight spot. Apocalyptic Vision does go down, helping with leadership, helping with melee attack. You'll see they're doing a decent bit of hurt here. Kazrak the One-Eyed dives in with Scourge active as well, and the Doom Wheel is in a very tight spot. As all that's happening, the assassin now, with the concealment bomb having worn off, is continuing to give charges, looking for that enemy leader, whether it is Kazrak the One-Eye or the Gorbel, hoping to take care of one of these guys just to cause morale damage and also cause morale damage to my opponent himself. At the same time, you'll see over here the Storm Vermin halberds have been turned around, bracing for the inevitable charge that's going to come this way. And you'll see the Senegor here are told to charge, and I'm ready for these guys to come in as the Plague Claw Catapult goes firing away. This is my high value unit here. I need that Plague Claw Catapult to stay alive, and you'll see up front the Doom Wheel has given up more or less, is giving away, and as the Warp Fire Throwers get a couple of shots in, you'll see a little bit more damage going on here, especially to the Minotaurs over here. They're burnt, they're contaminated, so much leadership damage, and that's exactly my game plan here. And meanwhile, back here, very nicely done by my opponent. Take a look at how he just completely avoids the Storm Vermin with halberd here. Of course, they were stationary, and he's able to turn these guys around and charge into whatever he wants to hit. So you'll see as the frontline clump is going down, as my assassin here is pushing in, chasing after the Gorbel, and he's beating on some of these Plague Monks, again, who aren't really scared because they're immune to psychology, and that was the plan all along. At the back here, my attention has waned, and you'll see the Senegor with great weapon come charging through. I try to block them with the Poison Wind Globadiers. A couple shots go through. The Storm Vermin with halberds turn around and try to charge in right away. You'll see to take care of these guys. Plague Claw Catapult able to fire away still, but the Warp Fire Throwers are in a very dangerous situation. These guys wheel around that rock there, and they get a wonderful charge into the Warp Fire Thrower, completely devastating these guys. They do not want to stick around and fight anymore. Wonderfully done by my opponent, and I am severely disappointed at the Warp Fire Throwers. Meanwhile, over here, you'll see we have another Warp Lightning going down again, just trying to eliminate some of these units here. They are on the route, but I want to make sure they completely shatter if possible, and at the same time, you'll see the Gorbel now duking it out with the Assassin. The Assassin's going to have a great time, but the Gorbel does activate Deadly Onslaught, helping his armor-piercing damage, increasing his weapon damage as a whole as well, and the Cygor as well now pushing in, trying to get involved, but I do send in the Plague Monk Sensor Bearers just to keep him tied down. Again, they won't be frightened off, so I'm trying to use him however I can. Meanwhile, the Warlock Engineer very much involved, using Musk of Fear with the casts, using his Warpstone armor, trying to spread damage to Kazrak the One-Eye, who is being hit by Queek Headtaker with Dwarf Gouger active as well. At the same time, you'll see we've got the Doom Wheel off in the distance here, chasing these routing units. I want to turn these routes to shatters. I don't want to end the engagements only to have these guys come back. And at the same time, over here, the Gorbel has been hit by Trophy Head, so the Assassin doing whatever he can to assassinate the Gorbel, doing a decent bit of damage there. He is coming out on top. You'll see the Gorbel has eaten a lot of damage already, and as my units do begin to rally, I have to pull them in and get them involved as well. You'll see over here the Senegor with great weapons, after having taken care of the Poison Wind Globadiers momentarily, charge in to these Plague Monks. Wonderfully done as they dive in to the Gorbel. So just trying to eliminate the Plague Monks, throw them off the field, and the Storm Vermin with Halberd now are free to charge into this unit of Senegor instead. So as the Plague Claw Catapult continues to fire away into the distance, again hoping to turn some of these guys into shatters, the Storm Vermin with Halberd are able to charge into the backs of some of these Senegor. Meanwhile, you'll see the Gorbel continues to take a great deal of damage. Trophy Heads reduce his melee defense to 0, so he basically only has that 10% chance of avoiding damage. He activates Acts of Men, trying to cause terror, but making himself unbreakable, which I think is the more important bit, and also using Foe Seeker, again, I think just trying to get out of this very precarious situation. Meanwhile, Kazrak the One-Eye falls to Queek Headtaker. His head has been taken between Queek Headtaker and the Warlock Engineer. Down goes enemy leadership, and the Assassin now continues to beat on the Gorbel. I do apologize if you voted Gorbel, but he's in a very dangerous situation right now. The Cygor as well, looking to get involved, looking to free the Gorbel. He needs to get out of here, get into some safety and pick his engagements at the back. Meanwhile, you'll see the Bestigor herd here willing to fight once more, but just back there not doing anything, too far away to get involved right away. And again, the Gorbel now completely tag team. We've got the Warlock Engineer, we've got Quick Headtaker, and the Assassin all surrounding him. The Cygor gets involved, trying to fend these guys off, trying to keep the Gorbel alive, but the Gorbel is just falling apart, eating a lot of damage. And again, I do apologize if he was your president-elect, because he's in a very tight spot. He is shattering. He completely gives up on the fight, decides to turn around and leave, and Quick Headtaker says no. Down goes the Gorbel, and you'll see at this point the Cygor shatters, these Razorgore herd completely uninvolved shatter, full shatter. The Beastmen do surrender to the Skaven for a Pyrrhic victory. Now, I'm definitely disappointed that the Warp Fire Throwers did not get in on the action at all, more or less, before they were wiped out by my opponent, but that was certainly well done. Compliments there, I have to give him. Now, while he had an interesting initial deployment, I think my opponent grew impatient when I opted to respond with my own artillery rather than just charge in to counter his or use vermintide or anything like that. Now, as a result of that, he pulled away from whatever defensive game plan he may have had and played more or less right into mine. There were plenty of defensive options for my opponent that were available, but at the end of the day, patience helped me win the battle, and I'm almost never patient. 123 kills on the Doom Wheel, doing a lot of work there, but really it was a morale battle, this one. I knew that going in, and that's how I came out on top. Almost no enemy units were completely killed, except for Kazarak the One-Eye and the Gorbel. As always, make sure you subscribe to this channel for more Total War content, a constant flow of battles, tactical analysis, and advice. Thank you very much for watching. I look forward to meeting you on the battlefield.